New Google Antigravity Stitch and AI Studio updates. There's a bunch of new updates from Google this week that help you automate and build whatever you want as a full stack app or website in a couple of clicks using the new updates from Google. So I'm going to show you exactly how they work, what's new, how it works together, and how you can stack these together to build whatever you want. So essentially what you can see here is this is Google Stitch, right? Now, Google Stitch is the front end UI AI agent that you can use for free. It's available at stitchwithgoogle.com. And inside here, you can basically go inside and start plugging in whatever you want, start building out whatever you want too, right? Now, for example, if we take a look at this project, what we actually said was create a new jobs board, and Stitch went off and started designing it for us. You can see an example of that right here, right? Now, what you can actually do from here is there's a brand new update from AI Studio that basically builds the back end and the front end of your project. That could be an app, could be a game, could be a tool, could be a website, could be a landing page, could be even a portal or something like that. Here's an example of that in practice, right? So recently, you can see here, we actually built out a brand new app where we said build me a tool where users can log in, track the habits, and see a leaderboard. And then basically what the AI went off and did is build this out directly, right? And actually created the front end and the back end of this particular project. Now, if you want to do the same, you can just go into AI Studio and you take the images that you've developed inside Stitch and plug them into AI Studio, right? So it's a direct export from the designs you create inside Stitch that you can then plug into AI Studio later. All right, so let me show you how this all works from scratch. So let's say, for example, if we're creating a new project inside Google Stitch, we can go inside this section, and then you decide, okay, do you want an app or do you want a website, right? So let's say, for example, we want to build a jobs board for an AI automation jobs website, right? What we can do here is we can select which API we want. And again, this is free to use. This is going to design the front end for our website. So we've got it right here. I'm going to say with logins for people to sign in, upload jobs, and also apply for jobs. Right, so it's basically like the front end and the back end. The front end is the design. The back end is the actual functionality of like logging in, saving data, and everything else. So that would be a website, not an app, right? And so I'm developing that right now, and you can see that it's beginning to code that out. Now, in the meantime, if you want to see an example of what the finished product looks like, here's an example. So this is actually the app Habit Hero that I built literally in a couple of clicks. And basically, I can add new habits here. It saves the data. It has a leaderboard. And this is designed as an app, right? And so if we log out here, you can actually sign back in with Google. And this is using the new integration of Antigravity and its coding agent, which can create apps and all the functionality of apps and websites inside AI Studio for free. And then it also uses something called Firebase, right? So Firebase is Google backed. And basically, it's a way of storing data inside a project. So, for example, if someone wanted to create an app where people have leaderboards or share information or share data between them, and it's all synced together, and also people can log in and save their data from previous login sessions, then this is how they would do it. Right. So, for example, we can log in with Google here. And again, I didn't do any of this. I'm not a coder. I don't understand HTML. I can't create full stack apps, that's for sure. And also, this doesn't cost anything to use, right? It's free to use and create the actual app itself. If you start like hosting it and then you start sharing it across the world, at that point, you would pay for the hosting. But at the same time, you would do that for any website. But the main thing is you can use this coding agent to build out the full functionality. And then later you can start sharing it with the world. And that's how you can use this, right? So here's an example. This is Talent AI. This is the project that we're actually plugged in from Stitch, right? So these PNG files and HTML files that we've got over here, these were pulled in from Google Stitch, which we created the front end for. And now it's created the back end too, right? So people can sign in, they can post a job, they can browse jobs, and all that sort of thing. Now, you can see here that not all of it works perfectly. I just want to be 100% honest with that, right? And so if we want to add more functionality to this, we can say, okay, add a login so people can store their data, e.g. jobs or applications, etc. Plus design the rest of the website pages. right? If we plug that in, what this is going to do is start using the coding agent of Gemini and Antigravity, combine the images from Stitch, which we got over here, and then we can start using this, right? So what you can also do is you can copy this image like so, go out to AI Studio, and then upload that image as something that you want to use, right? So for example, if we go out to Stitch here and we're like, right, okay, I really love the design here. Well, we can export it directly to AI Studio like that as a format, and we just select all the pages and the branding and everything else we want to use. Or the other option is we can click on Instant Prototype, right? So this allows you to create like an iterative flow where you can actually prototype the front end of the project you've created. But if you want to create the back end as well, then you would export it to AI Studio, or you can just download it as a zip and export it directly inside there, right? But the main thing is, it's very, very easy to create apps now. Very powerful update from Google. And also, there's so much more to this, right? This is just like a tiny little fragment of what you can do with this and what's possible. So, for example, here, you can actually share your screen and start live mode. And what this allows you to do is basically speak directly to the AI, share your screen, and then you can go back and forth in a conversation with the AI too at the same time. So there's just so much more you can do with this now, and it's such a powerful update. Stitch, I don't think was used that much compared to. I think it's gonna, I think it's gonna explode now. I think loads of people will be using it and creating loads of cool apps and that sort of thing. So you can see that's adding the login over here. If you want to see some other examples of what people have built, here's one actually straight from Google, right? And this is called GeoSeeker. And what this allows you to do is basically you play hide and seek with the rest of the world, right? So you can click on join the seeker, start the game, and then you have to find where this Gemini is, and it will give you little hints, right? Which is pretty crazy. And it has these different rounds, so you can actually play this as a game, and it syncs with real time Google Maps, and then you just place where you think this person is, right? So if it says I'm hanging out with some high altitude llamas in a city the clouds forgot to hide, probably going to be around Peru, right? Something like that. Let's confirm it. So it says about 300. Yeah, it's not far off. I'm around there, right? It's probably around maybe that way, something like that. But you get the point, right? And then you can zoom in on the map and then play this game in real time, right? And you can see, for example, here, it's got this 3D view where we can actually zoom in and out of the map as well. There's just so much more you can do with this, right? I mean, any app that you've ever wanted to build, you can now do that with Antigravity. You can do that with AI Studio. Like, there's really no limits I've seen, no limitations, and it's just really cool, right? So the way that I would approach this in terms of a framework, I would design the front end of your app or website idea directly inside Stitch. And all you do is you just go to this section right here. You select whether you want an app or a web. You would put your brand colors in, type in the idea that you want, and then it would go from there, right? Once you've done that, once you've got the full prototype, so if we go back to my chat and we go to projects, so once you've got a full prototype like this one, then you would take that, export, go to AI Studio, and inside AI Studio, you can start building with this, right? And if you want to see your previous projects, there's two sections to AI Studio essentially now, right? So you've got the playground, and the playground is like just where you go back and forth in a chat with AI Studio. That's not the part that you want. What you want is the build section here. So you go to build, and then you can see all the projects you've previously built on the left-hand side over here. So, for example, like we built out a thumbnail generator. We created a sales coach over here as well, the jobs board, and also a habit tracker as well, right? This one right here. And so these are all our previous projects that we built. And then you can also go to apps here and see what you've created in terms of apps. And you can also see what other people have created, right? So if you go inside this section, you can see, for example, like people creating like video generators here. We've got that Google Maps game that we just talked about. We have the visual computer, right? There's just so much more you can do with this and so many cool things you can do. So the potential is limitless. The only limitation is your imagination. I think the more you use this, the better you get. The better you get, the more results you get, right? Now, if you want to learn how to use both of these updates, we've actually got a full section on Google AI Studio and the new Antigravity update with a video tutorial right here inside the AI Profit Boardroom, right? So you can see we've got a full framework plus a 30-day plan with a roadmap and also 100 prompts you can test with this stuff as well, right? And then if you want to learn how to use Google Stitch, we've also got another video tutorial on that. We have, again, a 30-day roadmap, a full framework on how to use it, example prompts that you can use as well for all sorts of different tools you could build, and then you can just customize them to your business. Now, the way that I would get the most out of this is I would probably just look through, okay, what am I doing repetitively each day? I would track my time, what to spend the most time on, and then from there create automations around that, right? So for example, let's say you go to the gym a lot, right? Well, you could easily create your own customized app for tracking your weights or tracking what you eat, tracking your progress in the gym. And you could easily do that with a combination of Stitch to create an awesome front end, and then AI Studio with Antigravity to create a backend. And you can do all of that for free. So pretty crazy stuff, super powerful. If you want to learn how to actually implement all this stuff, if you want to learn how to automate your business, how to save time, how to scale, we've got all the video notes from today and full step-by-step roadmaps inside the AI Profit Boardroom. This is my AI automation community that helps you learn how to save time, grow, and scale with AI automation right here. I mean, you can see some of the wins. This is amazing. You can see some of the stuff that people are posting and what we're getting and that sort of thing. There's 2,600 people inside there, which means you can get help pretty much 24/7 because there's always people online to answer your questions and support you. Inside the calendar, you get weekly AI automation calls. So you can jump on video coaching calls and get help and support in real time. Inside the map, you can connect with people in your local area, right? So you can actually zoom in, meet people in your local area, connect with them, DM them, etc. And then inside the classroom, you can pretty much learn all of my best trainings and courses, right? Now, at the same time, you might be wondering, okay, what are people's results with this, right? And you can see we actually have over 138 pages of testimonials from people winning, learning, and growing with AI automation. So some awesome reviews there and just lots of cool people getting lots of cool wins, which is what we like to see. Now, inside the classroom, you'll see that we have a full AI automation masterclass that takes you from beginner to expert with AI automation, and you'll learn how to build your first AI agent in under 5 minutes. You also get my best playbooks on how to automate X and Twitter, how to automate newsletters, shorts, Instagram, AI avatar videos, etc. And then additionally inside the classroom, you'll get my SOP updates. So these are new daily guides like you see with Antigravity right here and also with Minimax yesterday, for example. And we just update this with new daily video tutorials, step-by-step guides, and we show you exactly how to use all the new cool stuff. If you struggle with information overload and shiny object syndrome, just read this weekly update each week, which basically if you've only got like 10 minutes to stay up to date with everything, just read that and it will show you what's good and what's not. Then also inside the agency course, you can learn how to get more clients. You can watch back the coaching calls if you don't make them live. You can learn how to rank #1 inside Google and AI search engines here. And you can also learn how to grow a YouTube channel based on what's working for me as well inside the classroom. So that's all inside the AI Profit Boardroom. Link in the comment description or go to the AIProfitBoardroom.com. Let's see what we got here on the comments. So King says, can I use this to build a custom node on Comfy UI? As I've seen more people, I don't know about that, honestly. I'm not an expert on Comfy UI. But yeah, what you could do is you could export the files from Stitch, right? And then you can actually get Claude Code to create them for you if you want. Ernesto says, nice to see you again. Great to see you here too. Ernesto, thanks for joining. And Marcello is here too. Welcome here, Marcello. Thanks for joining too. New Claude Cowork projects update. So Claude Cowork just got a huge upgrade and it changes how you work forever. They just added projects to Claude Cowork and this is a big deal. Here's why. Every time you open an AI tool or for example, Cowork, you pretty much start from zero, right? You explain who you are, what you're working on, you upload your files again, over and over and over again. That stops today. With projects in Cowork, you set it up once as a project, and Claude remembers everything and all the context related to that, right? So your files, your instructions, your context, it's all saved right on your computer, not in the cloud, on your machine. And the next time you open it up, Claude already knows what you're working on. You don't have to re-explain anything. It has full context. You don't need to start over. You save a lot of time. And then you can, for example, have one project for each client or one project for each task or everything in one place. So it's always ready to go. You can even import an existing project with one click. And this is the closest thing I've seen to having a full-time AI assistant that already understands and knows your business. And it ships inside a tool you might have access to already, which is Claude Cowork. I'm going to show you exactly what this looks like, how to set up, and how to use it to get more done starting today. So let's get straight into this. So if you don't have this already, basically you can go to Claude and download this directly, right? So you want to make sure that you have the Claude desktop app ready to go. Once you've done that, I'll show you exactly how it works. So from here, what you want to do is go over to Claude, right? And you'll see three different options on your desktop app once you've downloaded it, right? So you've got chat, Cowork, and code. The one that we're focusing on is Cowork, right? This is Cowork. Now, on the left-hand side, you need to make sure, number one, before you do this, actually, is just check for updates if you've already got Claude Cowork installed. Check for updates, restart, then click Create a Project, and you can either start from scratch, import a project, or use an existing folder, right? So there's three different ways to create a new project. Now, a project is a dedicated place for ongoing work where context builds over time. Files and instructions stay in a folder on your computer. Now, this is really powerful because essentially what you can do here is you can import a chat, right? So you can actually take a chat from project. You can actually search inside here for the project that you want to use, right? The other option that you have is you can go back and start from scratch, right? So you can call it a project name, give it instructions, add files over here, and then set the location. And the final option is that you can use an existing folder, right? So if you already have a folder with all your files downloaded and that sort of thing, then you can plug it in from there, right? So if we wanted to, let's say, for example, I've got the, the AI Profit Boardroom, right? It's my AI automation community. Basically, it helps you save time with AI automation, and I create a lot of content with Claude to promote it. Right now, if we, for example, take this information like so, and just give it context on what we do, then we can go back over to Claude here, start from scratch. We'll call this AI Profit Boardroom Marketing Agent, and then we can tell Claude how to work in this project. I don't think you really need to be honest. And then you can drop files over here and just give it more context, right? So we can create this over here, and then we can add more files. So what this means essentially is that we can add more and more context. Now, the more context you give this, the better the outputs you're getting from Claude, right? So for example, if I don't give Claude much context and I say like, okay, just create a sales page for the AI Profit Boardroom, probably not going to be that good. If I give it loads of context of all the stuff that we have inside there, then it's going to be 10 times better. So let me show you how this works, right? So for example, here, I can take some information about, what we do in our front page. So I'll take that. You can download it as a Word doc from Google Docs. And then we can plug that into here and choose context, right? So we can add a link and paste a link, or we can add new files, right? And so if we click on the link section here, you can actually link directly to the pages you want to give it context on. So you can see, for example, here, I've actually linked directly to the about page of the AI Profit Boardroom community, and then we can use that to give it more context, right? Now, what we could also do over here is we could take the full website of this, right? And then we'll go back to Claude, plug this in, add the link, boom shakalaka. It's now got twice as much context, which means the outputs get better, right? So for example, if I'm like, okay, what are 3 USPs I could add to my community, right? Something like that. It's basically going to take the context that we've plugged into Claude here and start using that for our project, right? Now, there's 2 things you want to note here. You've got the project itself over here, and you have the chats over here, right? So the chat and the project are different, separated, but they work on the same context. That's the main thing that you want to focus on here, right? Now, you might be thinking, okay, why is this important? You know, how does this work? And what can I use it for, all right? Well, let's start with the basics. What is Claude Cowork? It's basically just a super smart employee who works 24/7, never complains, and can do your computer tasks for you, right? That is what Claude Cowork is. So it's a new tab inside the Claude desktop app. You give it a task, point it at a folder of files, and it gets to work, right? It's made by Anthropic, the same company that runs Claude. Now, what are projects and how does that work? So this is the brand new feature that literally just dropped. You can see it right here. And Anthropic is developing a project layer for Claude Cowork on desktop, allowing users to organize work in local folders and set scheduled tasks by project, right? So right now, every time you use Cowork, it kind of forgets what it was doing before. Projects avoids that problem. So it's basically means that the folder, the instruction sets, and the objective persist across multiple sessions without being manually reestablished each time. Basically, you're giving it more context, which means better outputs, right? You set it up once, it remembers everything every time. For users running repeatable workflows, research pipelines, for example, or recurring reporting tasks or content creation, that is a meaningful quality of life improvement. Think of it like giving your AI employee their own dedicated desk, filing cabinet, an actual to-do list, right? Now, how does the folder system work? Well, Claude Cowork operates through a folder permission model where users grant the AI read, write, and create access to specific directories, right? You pick a folder, you tell Claude what to do, and then it can only access that folder, right? So if we go back to Claude Cowork here, you can see that number one, it's got a lot more context on what we do, how we improve, etc. And bear in mind, like when I said, what are 3 USPs I could add to my community? I didn't give it context on what I actually do, right? But it figured out that this is about the AI Profit Boardroom because it's got the context over here, right? Now, you can also add more connectors inside here too, right? So for example, we've got web search over here. We can add more files inside the folder. But the main thing here is like it becomes a much more powerful way to have something that's more customized to you, that gives you better answers and gives you better outputs because of that, right? Adds the sources right here. And then you've got all of the chat history on this section as well, right? Now, what's also cool about this is you can combine the power of Cowork with the power of projects. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, for example, with Claude Cowork, you can schedule tasks. So you could say, for example, okay, every single day, and we'll try this now, at 4:30 a.m., find new AI automation topics I could cover in my community, right? We plug that in. And now it's got the context of the project, but it's also got the scheduled task feature, which allows it to repeat tasks for me every single day. So if every single day, for example, I'm researching topics for content or researching topics for videos, etc., well, I can get Claude Cowork with all the context I've plugged in over here to start working on it directly, right? That's how this works. Now, you've also got the memory section here, which is pretty cool. So you can say, okay, remember, my copyright style is direct response, right? Like Dan Kennedy, for example, something like that. And we can train the AI now as well with the memory feature to improve its processes, right? So you see how it's beginning to add more information inside this section, inside the memory MD file. Why is it doing that? Because we gave it that detail right here, right? Now, also, if we go back here, you can see it's created a file, right? So it's created the memory MD file. What this means is that with the memory MD file, it forgets less, it remembers more, it gives us better outputs that are more personalized to us. The same inside this section, right? So over here, we're choosing, okay, what are we going to do? So we could save it to a file, we could create another format, or we could, for example, like create a presentation, right? We could say, create a presentation, focus on training and newsworthy stuff. We can choose how many topics we want the AI news update to be about. So 5 or 10 or 3, right? So let's go with 5. And then it will start scheduling that task and repeating it every single day, but it's got all the extra context of what we gave it previously, right? Now, there's some other cool stuff as well inside here. So for example, we can actually link this to something called dispatch. Now, what dispatch allows you to do is mean that you can essentially run this from your phone, right? And connect with your Claude Cowork from your phone. So you don't even need to be behind your computer to operate it, to control it, etc. Right? You can even get it, for example, to control your browser here, right? So you could be on your phone and then you just get Claude to control your browser as an AI agent. Now you can see here it's scheduling the task, right? So it's going to find 5 trending AI automation topics and deliver them as a polished presentation each morning. We schedule that in. And there we go, right? Now, if we want to go inside this folder, right? So this folder here, which is where all our context is stored. So if we go back to the project here, right? Then we can click on this and it will show it in Finder, right? So that means that we can add our files inside this section for training it with context. So if I plug that in over here, that will refresh in a few minutes with the new context that we've added in, right? So you can add links, you can add memory, you can add multiple files inside the project. And you can actually choose projects from a chat as well, right? You've got your scheduled tasks inside the project as well. And over here, we haven't even mentioned this yet, but you can also edit instructions, right? So you can say, okay, you're a direct response marketing AI agent focused on coming up with new ideas, new content, new topics for marketing, and powerful workflows to grow the AI Profit Boardroom community, right? Now, what we can also do now that it's got that context, we can say inside here, okay, come up with 3 new ideas every day to grow the AI Profit Boardroom. Do these ideas daily at 4 a.m. each morning. Make them actionable, easy to use, easy to implement. Ideally, something you can do for me. All right. So if we click Let's Go, we've now set up the marketing agent to, number 1, schedule in AI automation news research. Number 2, create daily presentations. Number 3, have all the context and the memory it requires to do the best job it can. And obviously you could plug way more context in there, but I just want to show you as a demo. And then finally, number 4 is that it can come up with new ideas proactively, kind of like a chief marketing officer would, so that it can come up with new ideas on a daily schedule. But the difference is it's working weekends, it's working 24/7. It's always thinking about this, it's always working on improving itself, right? And it never forgets, it never complains. And it's already included, if you're already on like Claude Pro, it's already included inside here, right? So it's a scheduled task, right? So now if we go back to the project, now it's starting to become something interesting, right? We've got more context, we've got the memory, we've got the links, we have 2 different scheduled tasks, and you can just stack more and more and more powerful automation workflows on top of your project. So you have this AI agent running 24/7 for you, right? It could do something new for me every single hour if I wanted to really grow the business and really push forward. So that's what this is about, right? Now you can also connect this to other different apps. So inside Claude Cowork, if you haven't seen this already, you can add new connectors. Now, what does that mean? Well, essentially what you can do here is you can add new apps. You can connect this to, for example, if you wanted to, you connect it to your social media or to your emails and that sort of thing. And then it can become an agent that's way more powerful because it can actually do stuff in the real world because it's connected to your other apps. And also it gets more context from the apps that it's already connected to. So you can see here that now it's scheduled in the daily growth ideas. And that was super easy to do, right? And it all seems to work really well as well. And then again, you've got dispatch as well on top of this. So if you're wondering how does this work, basically Cowork is available to Max subscribers and also to Claude Pro subscribers as well. And in terms of what it can actually do for you, it can do all sorts of cool stuff, as I've shown you today. But basically, you never have to repaste your brand guidelines or redescribe your audience or reset your formatting preferences, right? That was painful before. Projects fixes all of that, right? Your files and your folders, your custom instructions, your links and contacts, your memory, everything is saved inside one place and it's stored locally on your computer, right? Which is pretty cool. If you want to see full details on it, you can see all the details right here. But that's basically how it works. Now, I've actually got a full framework on how to use this stuff, a 30-day roadmap on how to implement it into your business and automate your business with it, with daily prompts, as you can see, for every day. And we have over 100 prompts you can test with this too, right? So you can see all these different prompts that you can test out with Claude projects inside the video notes from today. So that's inside the AI Profit Boardroom, link in the comments description, or go to the aiprofitboardroom.com to get access. But basically, it's a super powerful way to get access to an agent that works 24/7 for you. You can control it with dispatch from your phone. You can schedule in tasks so that you don't even need to control it at all. You can give it lots of context. It's got a much better memory, and it just gives it gives Claude Cowork superpowers. That's the way I would describe it. So thanks so much for watching. If you want to learn how to scale your business, grow and save time with AI automation and get all the video notes from today, including the 30-day roadmap for Claude projects, plus the 100 prompts and the custom framework for using this stuff, and get it all inside the AI Profit Boardroom. Link in the comment description, or go to the aiprofitboardroom.com. There's 2,600 members in here, which means there's always people online to help and support each other. You can ask questions, get help and support whenever you need to. You can jump on weekly video coaching calls like this. You can meet people in your local area from the map, actually DM them and jump on a Zoom call and that sort of thing. And also inside the classroom, you get all of my best trainings. And at this point, we have over 138 pages of testimonials and wins from people growing with AI automation from our school training, right? So lots of cool stuff right here. Lots of people winning, lots of people building amazing stuff, as you can see. And it's a pretty much an infinite scroll of great reviews, which is what we like. Now, inside the classroom, you can go from beginner to expert with AI automation in just 5 weeks and learn how to build your first AI agent in under 5 minutes. You can also get our playbooks on how to automate Twitter and newsletters and shorts and Instagram and AI avatar videos. These all come with video tutorials and step-by-step guides. On top of that, you get new daily updates inside this section. So we had lots of new updates. We actually got a 6-hour course on OpenClaw if you like that sort of stuff. Also got new updates on everything that comes out. I basically look at what's the most useful stuff, and then I turn it into a 30-day guide with 100 prompts and a step-by-step framework for implementing the stuff, along with a video tutorial. And additionally, if you want to get more clients, you can check out the agency course. If you want to watch about the coaching calls, if you can make them live, you can check them out there. You can also learn how to rank #1 with AI SEO over here. And you can learn how to grow a YouTube channel with AI based on what's working for me. So that's all inside the AI Profit Boardroom. Link in the comment description, or go to the aiprofitboardroom.com to get access. Let's see what we got inside the questions here. That call says, will this live be available yet? It will be. You can watch it later. How can I run Claude Code in Linux? Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's available on Linux or not. It's not something I use. Let's have a look here. Yeah, so the desktop app is available on Mac OS and Windows only. It's not available on Linux. But someone has created like Claude Desktop for Linux on GitHub, so that might be worth checking out. B says, what's the difference between making apps with Claude Code to AI Studio in your opinion? So with AI Studio, it's much easier to build the backend, and also it's designed to be more user friendly, right? Claude Code it's inside a terminal. It still requires a bit of technical expertise. It's still harder for most people to use. If you use something like AI Studio, you can just go straight in there and just type in what you want, and you're good to go. So it's a lot easier to use. Can I just use and anti-gravity. So anti-gravity is totally different to Claude projects, but you could probably do something similar. Claude versus OpenClaw, who wins? So Claude Code just made OpenClaw look like last year's tool. 5 massive updates have dropped, maybe even more than that, and they change how you run your entire business. Before this week, you had to sit at a computer to use Claude for anything. You had to be there watching it, waiting. That just changed. Claude Code can now take messages from your phone through Telegram and Discord. You can control Claude Cowork from your phone as well now, just like you can with OpenClaw. You can run tasks on schedules. You can remote control Claude Code from your phone. And Claude Opus 4.6 just got a million token context window. Plus, you don't need to be techie to set up Claude anymore, right? If you're using Claude, it's a lot easier to set up than using something like OpenClaw. So I'm going to show you how this works and why I think Claude is basically a better alternative than OpenClaw today, and run you through exactly what the differences are. So basically, if you've not seen all the new updates, let me talk you through them each one. So number one is the new update inside Claude projects, right? So essentially what this does is it creates like a much less techier version of OpenClaw, right? So you can run OpenClaw directly inside your browser, which you can see running right here. And the main benefit of this was like you could control it through Telegram. It was always running 24/7, and you could give it a lot of skills and it could schedule tasks. You can now basically do that all inside the desktop app of Claude. So as an example of that, right, you got this project right here. This is basically a new update that just got dropped from Claude, and you can add context to it. You can schedule tasks inside here. It works 24/7. And not just that, but you also got a list of scheduled tasks here, and you can use something called dispatch to control and give tasks to Claude and check in from your phone or computer, all in one seamless conversation, right? So you can actually control with dispatch your Claude Cowork and then give it tasks from there, right? Now, in terms of the schedule tasks, these run daily, as you can see right here. The only difference that I find with OpenClaw is that OpenClaw is running 24/7, whether I've got the app open or not, right? That is one of the biggest benefits. So, for example, I always have to have Claude Desktop running on my computer in the background if I want this to run 24/7. But that's not a problem if you've got something like a Mac Mini or a Mac Studio just running in the background and you've always got it switched on, right? You can also schedule tasks, it's super easy. And the main thing that I like about it is like, you don't need to mess around terminal. If it has any updates, it doesn't break. If you're using something like OpenClaw, it can break a lot when you're updating day to day, right? Even switching between APIs can get messy. Look at this, right? If we switch between an API, so let's say we go from Minimax 2.7 cloud, and then we switch to GPT 5.2 codecs. You see how it says this failed to set model section here? It doesn't switch between things very easily, but also it breaks a lot, right? And on top of that, if you look at the UI of this, it still feels like a little bit technical or a little bit messy compared to the UI of Claude. Now, I think if you want full customization, if you're very technical, if you're very comfortable breaking things when they fix, if you're very comfortable with API keys and using terminal, and you're a developer, then OpenClaw is extremely powerful, right? But when you've got Claude Cowork and it doesn't require technical setup, it works without any problems. I don't need to worry about updates. I don't need to worry about switching APIs. And also it comes with my Pro plan included. Well, why would I use OpenClaw? That's the thing that I'm looking at right now. I'd be interested to know what you think inside the comments. I've used both. I did see a comment the other day that said, the reason you like Claude is because you've never used OpenClaw, but we actually got a full 6-hour course on OpenClaw, and I cover all the new updates of OpenClaw pretty much every single day. Like, the new NVIDIA NemoClaw update, or Auto Research Claw, or Tandem, which is a AI browser with OpenClaw. Like, I've done video tutorials, I've run through all of them, I've set them up and created full guides and shown how to use those on YouTube. But from what I've seen, honestly, when I test them both out now, at this point, I don't know why most people will be using OpenClaw. Like, it's just so much more powerful to be using Claude. So overall, I'm going to run through each of the updates, but I will say that I think Claude at this point has already replaced OpenClaw, right? So for example, update number 1 that came out recently this week was Claude Code channels with Telegram and Discord. So Claude can now receive and reply to messages through Telegram and Discord, which means you can send Claude a message on your phone and it does the work on your computer, right? Just like OpenClaw was. Number 2, you can schedule tasks inside Claude Code, but also inside Claude Cowork, right? So Claude Code and Claude Cowork can now run tasks on a schedule like an alarm clock for your AI, right? So if you say every morning, check my GitHub tasks and send me a summary, or every week, find the latest AI automation news, it will do it for you, and it will not be required to use the terminal as well. So that's a big difference here too. Number 3, you got remote control for Claude Code, right? So basically you can start a Claude Code session on your computer, walk away, and then from your phone or web browser, you can keep giving Claude instructions and watch it in real time, right? And you just use these commands to use it inside Claude Code. And number 4, this is a big one, Claude Opus with 1 million context, right? Now, if you're using Claude Opus, which is the best API, if you're using it inside OpenClaw, it can get expensive. I've had days where I spent like $38 on Claude Opus, and I don't even know what it's done, right? It's just been working in the background, updating the heartbeat MD file, and then doing some stuff, but not really achieving much, right? Whereas, for example, if you're using Claude Cowork, you just pay for your Pro or Max subscription, and then you set it and forget it, right? You're not going to get charged for extra API costs, which is super useful. And then also, it's the best API in the world, right? Million token context window, by far the most intelligent API that I've used, the most powerful AI that I've used so far. It's really, really good. And then update number 5, the big one, projects are now live, right? So you can keep your work organized, separated and smarter, right? So Claude has a projects feature. And what this basically allows you to do is, how you've got OpenClaw, and you've got it inside one gateway terminal, or maybe you've got it inside Telegram, for example. It's one chat, right? It's just one long string of chat, as you can see right here, right? So to see previous things that you've done is pretty hard. Whereas if you go into Claude Cowork, and let's say you've got projects set up like I have right here, I can see all the previous chats and I can just switch between them really quickly. So if I'm like, okay, well, what ideas did you come up with me for today? And I've got them all organized here, right? It's way easier to separate different chats, different tasks, and go back through the history of Claude Cowork than it is to go back through the history of OpenClaw. Now, you could, for example, have separate Discord channels, right, with OpenClaw, and then you can have each of them organized with different chats for different tasks. But even then, it's still going to be a long stream like this, right? It's not going to save different chats like you've got right here, where we can just organize each of these chats, go through them, look through what we did recently, and then go from there, right? So just overall, I would say that OpenClaw is falling behind when it comes to functionality with Claude. However, that can just change like week to week. One new update from OpenClaw, and all of a sudden it's amazing again. So, you know, this is just my advice. This is what I found from firsthand experience, and this is what I would recommend going with, unless you're super technical and you just want amazing customization. Right now, I actually got a 30-day plan on how to use all of these new updates inside the AI Profit Board and video notes. So it comes with daily prompts and daily tasks to automate each part of your business. And then also we have 100 prompts that you can use with either OpenClaw or Claude Cowork, like you can see right here, with the complete Claude Code automation prompt vault from the video notes, right? Now, also inside here, we do have a full 6-hour course on OpenClaw, and another 3-hour course right here. So either way, if you want to use OpenClaw, you want to use Claude Code, we have trainings on both inside the AI Profit Boardroom. But my take is that unless you're crazy technical, unless you like fixing bugs every day, unless you're okay with messing around with API tokens and using a subpar API, then I would just go with Claude Cowork. It's way easier, way more powerful, easy to control from your phone, easy to schedule tasks, and it works first time around. It doesn't break as much. Now, if you want to get access to all of my best trainings, if you want to join a community that's focused on learning, growing, and scaling with AI, you can check this out. Inside this community, we have 2,600 members. You can ask questions, get help, get support whenever you need to. You can jump inside the calendar here, ask questions live on a call. You can go inside the map and meet people in your local area. And also we have all of my best trainings inside the classroom too. Now, you can see that we actually have over 138 pages of testimonials from people winning, learning, and growing from AI. So lots of cool wins here, lots of people getting awesome results, which is great. And then additionally, inside the classroom, you can go from beginner to expert with AI automation in just 5 weeks and learn how to build your first AI agent in under 5 minutes. You can also get our best playbook. So you can learn how to automate X and newsletters and shorts and Instagram and AI avatar videos. We have video tutorials and step-by-step guides on everything right here. If you want to get new daily guides plus a 6-hour course on OpenClaw, then you can check this section out. We actually date it by the update, and then we'll give you video notes and tutorials on how to use that new update too. You can learn how to get more clients with the agency course. You can watch about the coaching calls, and you can learn how to rank #1 inside Google with AI SEO, and also learn how to grow a YouTube channel with AI based on what's working for me. So that's all inside the AI Profit Boardroom. Link in the comment description, or just go to aiprofitboardroom.com. Let's see what we got on the questions here. Does Claude Code have better memory? So they just enabled persistent memory, so it's a lot better than it used to be. How do you define an API? So it's just like something that links to another AI, right? So for example, an API for Claude would be the code that you use to link one app to Claude Code. No chat memory of Claude Code combos. So you can use persistent memory, like I mentioned. What's the cost on Cowork? So you can either sign up with a pro or a max subscription. People saying the rate limits are too low on Antigravity and switching to other IDEs. So I would check out the new AI Studio update instead. Google just dropped the most powerful free app building stack on the planet. This week, Google shipped 5 updates in 7 days, 5 in 1 week, whilst most people are still figuring out how to use ChatGPT. Here's what just happens and why it changes everything for your business right now. You're about to see how to build a full working app complete with a login screen, database, and live users, using nothing but plain English. No code, no designers, no developers. And this isn't a tutorial about a tool that might be useful someday. This is Google's biggest AI drop of 2026. It just went live. There's also a bunch of other updates, which I'll talk you through, and stay until the end because I'm going to show you each one of these and how they work exactly. So if you're wondering what just happened this week, basically Google dropped 5 major updates in a single week. Here's what just happened. Number 1, Google AI Studio, right? So they dropped a full stack vibe coding app. You can turn text into real deployable apps with databases, login systems, and real users. We've also got Google Stitch with vibe design, right? So you can turn natural language and voice commands into beautiful UI designs and front-end code. On top of that, Google Antigravity coding agent, right? So there's an AI that understands your entire project, writes, updates, and fixes code across multiple files. There's upgraded Gemini API tooling as well. And also inside this update, you can now use Google Maps. So there's Google Maps support in all Gemini 3 models. And additionally, one of the biggest updates is personal intelligence that is rolling out from Google across the US right now. What this means essentially is that you can connect your personal context to get personalized assistance from Gemini directly, right? Also means that Gemini remembers what's important to you, and you can actually ask Gemini for help in bringing past conversations, right? So how this works essentially is like you choose what you share, right? You can choose whether or not to use Google's personalization features. You can choose whether to share your personal preferences or enable your chat history. But this basically gives context for example, like your emails or your Google Drive directly inside Gemini, so you get more personalized responses. Top of that, you can manage your data, so you can view and manage your chat history. You can turn off personalized help as well if you don't want it inside your settings. And it gives you a summary as well of how Gemini personalizes responses and can show you personal context, right? So, for example, like let's say in your Gmail, you just booked a hotel for somewhere, and then you were like, I need travel ideas. And it would actually look at your hotel confirmation, look at where the hotel is, and then give you personalized ideas of where to go in that area based on the booking from your email. So it's pretty crazy how it works step by step. Now let's look at one of the other big updates, which is AI Studio and Stitch, right? So with Stitch, this is a free way to design the front end of apps. So here's an example. We actually said inside here, create a new UI for a jobs board app and also a habit tracker, right? And you can see it right here. So it's actually created, for example, the branding, the homepage with the dashboard, the designs for each section of the website. And then here's the other cool thing that you can do, right? You can either edit it right here, you can speak to the AI and it will see your screen and talk to you back in real time using this new live mode at the bottom. You can switch between APIs here. You can actually change the colors and the design system for your UI. And this designs the front end, right? So just like what it actually looks like. If you want to add the back end functionality, so logins, database, leaderboards, people sharing information between each other on the app, here's how to do that, right? So what you can do here is you can click on export, right? So you just select all the files that you want to export into AI Studio. And then you're going to click on AI Studio over here. And you could either download this with a zip file if you wanted to plug it into Antigravity locally, or you could go to AI Studio, or you could actually create the app inside Stitch directly. So you can actually create a React app directly and create an instant prototype. But what we're going to do is use a new AI Studio app, because what this now does is it has something called Google Antigravity and also Firebase plugged in here, right? So if we take the designs directly from Stitch, which you can see over here, I'm going to say add a login for users too, and then we hit build. Basically, this takes the front end designs from Google Stitch, plugs them into AI Studio, uses anti-gravity for coding and testing the app to make sure it works before it gives you an actual design. And then also on top of that, it's going to create a backend, a database, a login for people to use with something called Firebase. Now, Firebase is owned by Google, and what it essentially does is it allows people to just sign in with their Google account into the app, right? So that way you can quickly share it. People can log in, they can save their data, and they can come back to it whenever they want to. If you want to see some examples of apps that I previously built on this, here's some examples. So, for example, like Habit Hero. Habit Hero is a habit app that we actually built over here, right? And people can log in, they can save the data, they can save their habit streaks, they can add new habits here that they want to use, and they can also check out a leaderboard over here, right? So there's so much to this, so much more you can do with this than ever before. You got personal intelligence, you got AI Studio with Antigravity and Firebase, you have Stitch with the new UI developments and the live sharing and everything else. And you can also switch between APIs here. So if you wanted to use like the best API, you could click on Thinking with Pro. If you wanted to redesign the whole thing, you can actually use Nano Banana, right? So Nano Banana is probably the best image generator in the world. It comes from Google, and you can redesign your whole app. Now, bear in mind, this is all free. This is all free to use for you to use directly. And you can get access to it as Stitch with Google, or if you want to start building the backend for it, then you just go to AI Studio. So for example, if we look at the designs that we just plugged in here, then from here, we just click on Enable, right? And that allows us to create the backend for it because we're accepting Firebase terms, right? Now, also inside the app, if you wanted to actually publish it, you just go to this section here and you can publish this directly, right? So if we click on Publish App, this will allow people and allow myself to share the app so that we can actually make it live on the world, right? So you can see now it's building the app, and then it'll actually store it on a Google Cloud project for us to share with the world directly, right? And it's really easy to do this stuff. It doesn't take a lot of thought. You just tell it what you want. You don't need to be able to code, but it's finally at the point now with AI where you can design full apps. You can design full landing pages. You can design like SaaS tools even with this sort of power. And most of it is free, right? Now, I actually created a framework that connects all of this together, right? So the way that I would look at it is in 4 stages. So first of all, we got ideation, right? You describe what you want in plain English. That's it. So for example, build me a lead generation tool for my consulting business. And then that starts building inside Stitch. Stitch will design it, right? So Stitch turns your idea into a beautiful visual interface. It generates about 5 screens at once, which you can see right here. And all you do is you literally type in plain English what you want. If you want to edit it, then you type in your edits in plain English here, and it will go off and just redesign it, remake it for you. From that point, you're going to build it, right? So you build with AI Studio plus the Antigravity coding agent inside AI Studio, and that will take the design and build the actual working app, right? The database is handled by Firebase. It will add a login system built in with real-time features as well, right? So if we go back to AI Studio now, you can see that it's beginning to build out that app that we just plugged in from Google Stitch right here. And then you just deploy it, right? So one-click deploy, as you can see right here. So our app is now published, which you can see. This is from AI Studio. So if we go inside this section, people can now log in and start using this app directly, right? And this was just a one-click deployment where you just click publish over there and you deploy it to Google Cloud. That's how easy it is. So in just 4 steps, you can go from idea to building the app. And Gemini have also released the AI Studio updates as well, plus the personal intelligence. So they've done a lot this week. Pretty amazing what they've done, really, honestly. And they've also improved the Gemini API tooling, right? So it can use, for example, like Google Search inside the Gemini API call, as well as Google Maps, which can support all of the Gemini models. So it's done a lot. They've done a lot this week. That's basically how it works. And also the personal intelligence update as well, that's free for users in the US. So either way, you can just get access to this if you're based in the US straight away. And if you're not in the US, you can still use AI Studio and Google Stitch updates as well. Now, if you want to get a 30-day plan and a roadmap for using all of this stuff, along with use cases, a full guide explaining exactly what it is and how it works, you can get that inside the AI Profit Boardroom, along with a list of 100 prompts that you can just copy and paste into the tool directly to build whatever you want. And this community is basically focused on one thing, which is learning, growing, and winning with AI automation. So if you want to learn how to save time, scale your business, and actually implement this stuff, check out the AI Profit Boardroom. Link in the comments description, or go to the AIProfitBoardroom.com. Inside the community, there's 2,600 members. There's always people online that you can ask questions to, get help and support in real time. We actually have over 138 pages of testimonials, wins, reviews from people just getting awesome results. So you can see that right here in this document. Lots of cool people getting awesome wins and sharing what they've done and what they've built and that sort of thing. So there's lots of great people to connect with inside there. And then also inside the calendar, you can see that we do weekly video coaching calls. So you can jump on a live AI automation session and get help and support in real time. Inside the map, you can connect with local people. So wherever your area is, you can just zoom in on that area and just meet and DM people in your local area. And then inside the classroom, you get access to all my best training. So you can go from beginner to expert with AI automation and learn how to build your first AI agent in under 5 minutes with this video course right here. If you want to learn the playbooks that I actually implement inside my business. So for example, how I automate AI avatar videos, how I automate Twitter, etc. All of these automations are inside the classroom right here. And then inside the SOP update section, you can see that we had new daily video tutorials and guides that you can just follow along with 30-day roadmaps, full frameworks, full step-by-step prompts as well that you can use to really automate whatever you want and learn how to use whatever you want as well. You can also search inside the search bar for whatever you're looking for. If you want to get more clients, check out the agency course. If you want to watch back our coaching course, you can check that out here. If you want to learn how to rank #1 with AI SEO, you can learn that here. And also you can learn how to grow a YouTube channel with AI based on what's working for me. And that's all inside the AI Profit Boardroom. Link in the comment description or go to the aiprofitboardroom.com. Let's see what we've got in the questions here. Boom says, is this live? It is live indeed. Peter says, I'm trying to build a forum and get it off the ground. Do you have a place, direction on where to start? Yeah, so I would start with Stitch, design the front end with Stitch, design the back end with AI Studio and Antigravity. Simple as that. You could get it done in the afternoon. Peter says, do you have any videos on building stores with AI? Yeah, check out the AI Profit Boardroom for some videos on that. Just type in ecom at the top and you'll find some stuff. Peter says, what SEO strategies would suit? Yeah, so I mean, like the same as Reddit, right? Like the SEO strategies that work on Reddit, you would do. So you just target low competition keywords, create content around it, and rank it. That's it. And build backlinks to the website too. NemoClaw, Antigravity, Stitch, plus Minimax M2.7 plus Claude. Here's the latest AI news. And this week was one of the most packed weeks in AI I can remember. NVIDIA launched NemoClaw at GTC. Google dropped Stitch and Antigravity at the same time. A mystery trillion parameter appeared out of nowhere, went viral and turned out to be from Xiaomi. Minimax released a model that helped build itself. Mistral released one free model that does the job of three. And Anthropic gave Claude Code a phone, a schedule, and the ability to work whilst you sleep, along with a bunch of updates on projects and Claude Cowork, all in the same 7 days. So let's get into it, because every single one of these is worth your attention. Let's start with the biggest one, the one everyone in the space was watching, right? So OpenClaw has been growing at a pace nobody expected. It became the fastest growing open source project in history. And the question the enterprise world has been asking since day one is simple: how do we use this without something going wrong, right? So all sorts of crazy stories about OpenClaw and some of the issues there. Um, and you can, for example, like touch files you don't want it to. It can send emails you didn't write. It can delete things you actually needed. That's the fear. That's what's been holding companies back from using OpenClaw. And NVIDIA showed up at GTC this week and said, we built the answer. At GTC 2026 on March the 16th, Jensen Huang announced NemoClaw, an open source stack for the OpenClaw platform that adds privacy and security controls, installing in a single command. One command. You type one thing, and a secured, policy controlled, enterprise grade AI system is now running on your infrastructure. So NemoClaw's OpenShell runtime enforces sandboxing, least privilege access controls, and policy-based privacy guardrails for enterprise agent deployments. Think about it like a security badge system in a building, right? Every employee badge only lets them into the rooms they're supposed to be in. They can't just walk into the server room. They can't open the CEO's filing cabinet. There are rules. NemoClaw does that for AI agents. So every agent only gets into the parts of your system that it's supposed to be in, right? Every action is logged, every permission is set in advance, and nothing happens outside of those boundaries. Now, the partner ecosystem at launch includes Adobe, Salesforce, Atlassian, and Dell, among others, integrating NemoClaw into their enterprise workflows. And these are not companies agreeing to test something. These are massive organizations building this into their products from day one. And Jensen Huang's framing of the whole thing is worth paying attention to. He said, OpenClaw is the operating system for personal AI. This is the moment the industry has been waiting for, the beginning of a new renaissance in software, operating system for personal AI. So he's not saying OpenClaw is a cool tool. He's saying it's the layer that everything else runs on top of, like Windows in the 90s, except instead of apps, the thing running on top are AI agents. And NemoClaw is NVIDIA trying to become the Windows of that world. Also, inside the OpenClaw world this week and getting far less attention is the Tandem browser. So basically, with Tandem, what you can do is you can control with your AI and OpenClaw the actual browser. I've got a full video tutorial on my channel, but basically what you can do is go into OpenClaw and say, go off and do this or search that, etc. And it will actually go into Tandem and operate your AI browser for you, which is pretty crazy. Then Google dropped two things at once as well. So the combination of them is what makes this interesting. So Stitch is Google's AI design tool. It already existed, but they completely rebuilt it this week. They upgraded release features, a new interface built around an AI native infinite canvas that can display multiple visual assets side by side. So you describe what you want. Could be a dashboard, a landing page, a mobile app to screen. And in plain English, the new Stitch generates multi-screen designs with consistent components, interaction states, production-ready code, all from one prompt. So voice input adds another dimension to the workflow as well, letting users direct the design agent through spoken commands rather than typed prompts. You can literally talk to your canvas. You can tell it to try 3 different color palettes, ask it to redesign the hero section whilst you're watching in real time. But here's where it gets interesting as well. The real story isn't Stitch alone. A new SDK and MCP server connects Stitch to coding agents, including Claude Code, Gemini CLI, and Cursor, allowing developers to pull design assets into their coding workflows without switching contexts. So Stitch feeds directly into Antigravity, which is Google's AI coding environment. Now, Antigravity is Google's agentic IDE, a next-gen VS Code fork powered by Gemini. It doesn't just suggest code, it can plan, run terminal commands and everything else. Now, you usually describe the app in plain English. Stitch designs it, Antigravity builds it, tests it, fixes it, and deploys it. But also, what's also cool about this is Google AI Studio has integrated Antigravity too, right? So together, you can basically take Stitch, export it to AI Studio, and then with that design, you can create whatever you want to, which is basically creating a different world for creators, freelancers, and small business owners than existed 3 months ago, because the practical implementation is anyone can build an app, anyone can build a website, anyone can deploy it now, right? They can design the thing, build the thing, and create the thing and publish it with AI implementing every single step. Next up, let me tell you what's going on with Anthropic and Claude Code, because this week's updates are quieter than NemoClaw Stitch, but honestly, a lot changed, to be honest. So 3 things changed. So you've got the first is channels. So Claude Code channels lets you send messages from Telegram or Discord directly into a running Claude Code session on your local machine. Claude reads the event and replies back through the same channel. You start a task in Claude Code, step away from the desk, text it from Telegram, it does the work and replies in Telegram. You're not chained to your terminal anymore. The second is scheduled tasks, right? So scheduled tasks let you save a prompt and have it run automatically on a recurring cadence. No more opening the session every morning to type the same check error logs prompt. Set it once, it runs on a schedule every week, whatever you configure. You could, for example, automate automation news research. You could automate searching and creating for presentations. You could automate coming up with new ideas and how to improve. Another update from Claude was Claude Projects, right? And so what Claude Projects essentially did is they released a new sort of agent where you can give it all the context in a separate file and folder on Claude Cowork that just dropped today. And from there, it can basically take that context and you can schedule tasks. You can control it from your phone. It can run tasks automatically for you 24/7. And also it has the full context. So you get better outputs, right? So for example, I could train it on my AI Profit Boardroom community, give it loads of context on what it is, and then it could come up with 3 new ideas every day as on a scheduled routine to improve it. Or for example, it could come up with new ideas for videos and stuff like that. Right? Now you also have remote control. So remote control bridges your local Claude Code terminal session with Claude AI, the Claude iOS app, and the Claude Android app. So your session stays in your machine the whole time as well, right? You could walk away from your screen once you've given it a task, monitor and steer it from your phone, come back, and the work is done as well. These are still research previews, so there are rough edges, session crashes, that sort of thing, but the direction is clear, right? Remote control combined with scheduled autonomous tasks points towards a future where AI agents are just running continuously and you just supervise them from your phone and that sort of thing. That's the trajectory. Agents that run all day, taking instructions. We've seen it with OpenClaw and we've also seen it with Claude. We've seen it with Perplexity Computer as well. These are all heading in the same direction. Also, what happened recently with Claude Opus is it's now added 1 million context on max team and enterprise plans, which means you get longer sessions, fewer compactions, more room for the context that actually matters when you're running these agents. Now, let me tell you about the thing that had the AI community totally confused for an entire week. So on March 11th, 2026, an anonymous large language model simply named Hunter Alpha appeared on OpenRouter, right? No company, no press release, no social media announcement, just a listing. And the specs are absurd, right? 1 trillion parameters, 1 million token context window, and it was free to use. Within days, the model racked up over 1 trillion tokens processed and climbed to the top of OpenRouter's usage leaderboards, outpacing many well-known frontier models. Everyone assumed it was DeepSeek or OpenAI, right? The architecture, the specs, the knowledge cutoff, everything kind of pointed at these 2 models. But it wasn't DeepSeek or OpenAI, it was Xiaomi. And they just officially launched their MIMO V2 family on March the 18th to 19th, right? The flagship MIMO V2 Pro was previously known as the mysterious Hunter Alpha. And Xiaomi is just a smartphone company, right? They create a bunch of other devices as well, but they're well known for their smartphones. And they just dropped a trillion parameter frontier model in stealth mode, right? Let it go viral, let the whole community try to figure out who built it, and then revealed it was themselves. Now, Xiaomi's head of AI, Fuli Luo, described it publicly as a quiet ambush. She wrote, "The shift from chat to agent happened so fast, even we barely noticed it." Bear in mind, Fuli Luo actually worked on the DeepSeek project as well when that was released, and now he's worked on the Xiaomi project, so pretty insane stuff. He or she, sorry. MIMO V2 Pro scores 49 on the Artificial Intelligence Index, placing it 8th worldwide and 2nd amongst Chinese models, with strong core eval results, putting it 3rd globally in agent performance, 8th in the world from the company that most people in the West know for smartphones. Most people in the West don't even know it, to be fair, as well. And this is designed specifically for creating agents, right? So while Xiaomi was doing its reveal as well, Tencent also was making a move. So Tencent are a Chinese company, and they launched the public beta of QClaw based on the WeChat ecosystem, turning WeChat into what the company describes as a super remote control for office computers. Now, WeChat has 1 billion users, and Tencent CEO Pony Ma has publicly led out his vision, right? Which is AI shouldn't be locked inside a chatbot. It should flow through everything, every corner of your digital life. And QClaw is that vision in its form. So in the current stage of AI development, absolute convenience and absolute security are still the most important things, right? And that tension is defining the problems for 2026 of the whole space, not just in China, but for everyone building agents. We've seen that with OpenClaw. We've seen that with all these other different versions of OpenClaw that have come out. But basically, the more these things can do, the more things can go wrong with these AI agents. So NemoClaw is NVIDIA's answer to it. Tandem is the OpenClaw's community answer to controlling your browser. And QClaw is Tencent's answer to it as well. 3 different approaches with the same problem. Now, let me talk to you about Minimax 2.7, because this is the one I think is most technically significant and it's getting the least attention. M2.7 is Minimax's first model designed to deeply participate in its own evolution, right? So earlier versions of the model we used to build a research agent harness capable of managing data pipelines, training environments, evaluation infrastructure. They built a model and then they use that model to help build the next version of itself. M2.7 ran entirely autonomously, implementing the loop of analyzed failure trajectories, planned changes, modified its own scaffold code, ran evaluations and compared the tests, and then decided whether to keep or revert changes for over 100 rounds without human intervention, 100 rounds completely alone. So if you look at what it's doing in that loop, it's not just running random changes, it's analyzing why it failed, planning the fix, writing the fix, testing the fix, deciding if the fix was actually better, and then running the whole thing over again. That's a self-improvement cycle, not a metaphor, literally a model improving its own training process. They achieved a 30% performance improvement on internal evaluation sets, 30% better from itself. On the SWE Pro benchmark, M2.7 scores 56.22%, nearly matching Claude Opus's best level on Opus 4.6. It scores 61.5 on Claude Eval, placing it 3rd globally, surpassing GPT-5 iterations, and it's matching Claude Opus in software engineering and beating recent GPT-5 iterations on agent evals. Now, this is just a Chinese startup, and it's at a price point that's pretty much a fraction of what these other models cost. So the model's ability to reduce recovery time for live production incidents as well is under 3 minutes by autonomously correlating, monitoring metrics of code repositories, and that's a meaningful signal for developers. In plain English, basically, it can iterate and improve and fix itself quicker. And it's also a lot cheaper. And it's combining with something called MaxClaw, right? So if you're interested in using it, you can get access to it inside Minimax's agent, right? And that can autonomously do stuff for you in the cloud. But then you also have access to it via MaxClaw, which connects with Discord, with Telegram, with Discord. It's basically Minimax's self-hosted version of OpenClaw, but the difference is that you don't need terminal to run it. It runs in the cloud, and it's something that's a lot less technical to set up. Plus, you can create like videos and images and that sort of thing straight out of the box with MaxClaw. Then Mistral dropped something too, and I want to be concise about it because the core idea is pretty simple. On March 16th, 2026, Mistral released Small 4 for the first time. A single open source model replaces 3 separate products. You've got Magistral for reasoning, Pixtral for multimodal vision, and DevStral for agentic coding. 1 model, 3 jobs, and it's free under the Apache 2.0, right? Before this, if you wanted a system that could reason through hard problems and analyze images and write code and act as an agent, you needed to route between multiple models, right? But Small 4 basically collapses all of that into one. Now, compared to Mistral Small 3, Small 4 delivers a 40% lower latency and triple the throughput, 40% faster, so 3 times the output in the same amount of time. It has a configurable reasoning effort parameter, so you can just basically choose, okay, do you want it to be really fast to reply, or do you prefer it to be slower but more deep in terms of its reasoning and more complex in terms of its reasoning? So for simple tasks, it answers fast, and for complex tasks, you tell it to think harder. It's the same model, same deployment, but you can just choose between the reasoning efforts. And also worth noting, Mistral 4 is available for free prototyping on NVIDIA accelerated computing and ships as a day 0 NIM container, meaning it's optimized for the same NVIDIA hardware that NemoClaw runs on. So these ecosystems are like beginning to connect between each other. Now, let me zoom out because I think there's a thread running through every single announcement that's worth naming clearly. A year ago, the AI conversation was about which model gives you the best answer to your question. And that question still matters, but it's no longer the main event, right? The main event right now is which systems can do real things on your behalf without you having to be there. Which ones are the most autonomous? Which ones work without breaking anything, right? NemoClaw is NVIDIA's answer to that for companies. Stitch and Antigravity is Google's answer to that for builders. Tandem is the OpenClaw's community's answer to that for like web automation. Then you got Minimax M2.7 as a model that answers by literally improving its own ability to do things. You got Xiaomi's MyMo V2 Pro, which basically works for agents as well. And then you got Tencent's QClaw as well, which is built inside WeChat, which is pretty wild, right? Reaches a lot of people, makes it easy for almost anyone to use OpenClaw at this point. And then you got Mr. R4, you got Claude Code channels, you got scheduled tasks, Claude Cowork, etc. Everything is becoming more autonomous. Everything is working in the cloud better. So the race is not about like the best AI anymore. The race is about who can build the best agents at work. Now, let me be real with you for a second, because I know some of you are looking at this and feeling two things at once: excited and overwhelmed. And every week there's more tools, more names, more announcements. And the honest question is, what do I actually do with this? Here's what I tell you: you don't need to understand all of it. You need to understand the part of it that's relevant to how you run your business, how you run your life, etc. Right? And then you actually need to implement this stuff. Not watch more videos, not read more articles. Just build one workflow, watch your work, and then build the next one. And the people getting real results from this are the people who don't know the most tools. They're the people who actually implement and build stuff. Right? That's the difference. So you can watch a lot of videos about this stuff, but you'll learn so much more just by implementing it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's exactly what the AI Profit Boardroom community is built around. So you get 4 weekly AI automation coaching calls through real workflows, not theory, daily new tutorials with step-by-step video guides you can follow, 30-day roadmaps so you know exactly where to start, a community of 2,600 builders who are actively automating their work with AI. Inside there, you get prompts for everything you can imagine, and a local map where you can find, connect with, and meet people near you who are building the same things. Because this stuff is genuinely easier when you're not figuring it out alone. So feel free to go to the AI Profit Boardroom, link in the comments description, or go to the AIProfitBoardroom.com to get access. Let me tell you what I think the next 90 days look like. I think security is becoming more and more important, right? You got NemoClaw, for example, which is an enterprise answer to it. Every major platform, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Salesforce, they're going to have their own version of this. And the companies that figure out how to deploy agents safely are going to have a significant advantage over the ones that are still debating whether to allow it. The self-improvement model story of Minimax is going to get bigger because what they described, basically a model running its own improvement cycles, is where the entire industry is heading. The labs that crack that scale don't just build better models, they build models that build better models, right? And that's a compound effect that's very hard to imagine right now. The China versus the rest of the world sort of idea of AI and its race is accelerating. So you got Xiaomi, you got, for example, Minimax, all of these, you got QClaw as well, all of these models from China coming out and getting better. And a lot of them are open source as well. And what I want to leave you with is this. There's a version of this story that's scary. So for example, you got AI replacing jobs, you got agents doing things that nobody asked them to, you got companies replacing whole departments with AI, systems improving themselves faster than humans can track. That version is pretty real, right? Those concerns are legitimate, not going to pretend otherwise. But there's another version of this story too, and it's the one I keep saying play out in the community I've built, right? It's a freelancer who used to spend 2 days on a project and now completes it in a couple of hours, right? It's a small business owner who had no way to build the software tool they needed and now builds it themselves in a weekend with Stitch and Antigravity. It's a creator who used to spend all their time on admin and now has automations handling half of it so they can actually make better and real things, right? And the same tools that are making some roles unnecessary right now are making other people dramatically more capable and productive. And the difference between those two outcomes isn't luck. It's whether you decide to learn this stuff or not, right? So this week dropped NemoClaw, Stitch, Antigravity, Tandem, Claude Code channels, Claude Code projects, more improvements inside Claude Cowork, scheduled tasks, remote control, Minimax M2.7, Xiaomi's MyMo V2 Pro, Mistral Small 4. Every single one of those is available to you right now. What you do with that is up to you. See you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. And if you haven't already, check out the AI Profit Boardroom automation community to learn more about this stuff. Thanks for watching.